Back once again with the propaganda media news talk radio. I never get tired of saying that. Okay, today we have, of course, Pat Kenny, the number one arm of government, apart from Kieran Cuckoldry and a few others. Of course, we got to throw them all in together. Today they're going to be discerningly, discreetly, undercoverly making fun of Trump, okay, because they don't want to actually insult Trump directly because they're cowards, and they kind of do it offhand sometimes. But this one is called 100 Days of Donald Trump. So today marks the day of 100 Days of Donald Trump. I think it was a pretty successful, 100 days, if I'm being honest. I think a lot of people would agree with me on that, especially in Europe, especially for the Americans, they want to put America first. In Ireland, we want to put Ireland first, and our, corrupt people, government, are not wanting to do that. So unfortunately, we have to start, relying on people like Donald Trump to hopefully come and help us, okay? Because the spirit of him, that sort of, pushing back against the mainstream spirit that he has is living through the people in 2025 in Ireland. So it's great to see. So shout out to Donald Trump and the US people. Hopefully you guys can come and change culture here a little bit and wake up some of the idiots that we still have here, especially the citizens. Don't know what the hell is going on here. So yeah, let's listen to what Pat Kenny has to say. No doubt he'll be lambasting Donald Trump, but watch out.
100 days down, 1,361 to go.
I will act with historic speed and strength and fix every single crisis facing our country. We have to do it. We're not going to have a country. It's been run by a bunch of radical lunatics, and we're getting them out. USAID, run by radical lunatics, and we get...
I love that they got rid of USAID. It stopped funding a lot of NGOs in Ireland. A lot of those woke DEI, Marxist liberals. So now that their agenda cannot be pushed much more in Ireland and in the EU, of course.
Them out, and then we'll make a decision. Because I'm looking at the whole Gaza Strip right now, and it's a mess. It's a real mess. We just clean out that whole thing. The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it, too. We'll own it, do a real job, do something different. Just can't go back. If you go back, it's going to end up the same way it has for 100 years. And I don't want to be cute, I don't want to be a wise guy, but the Riviera of the Middle East, this could be something that could be so bad, this could be so magnificent.
Air Force One is currently in international waters, the first time in history flying over the recently renamed Gulf of America. Please enjoy the flight, and we are now about to head westbound to Super Bowl 59.
I love this little B-roll that they're doing, and you all know the liberals are crying, oh my God, Donald Trump's in office. I actually had a lady was teaching me back in 2016 in a woke, lecture, basically, college, and she hated me for some reason. I was trying to debate with her Donald Trump back in 2016, I said, he has some good ideas. You may not agree with everything. I don't agree with everything that anyone says. I'm sure there's some things that I disagree with that are in the Bible, okay? And I'm a Christian man. So, you don't have to agree with everything that everybody says. But the thing is, guys, what he was saying is mostly good, or back in the day it was much less good. I think now Donald Trump's a lot better than he was in 2016. And my teacher literally was like crying. She ran up the stairs, this obese lady. She couldn't even run up the stairs without getting out of breath, and it was just really embarrassing. It was a really embarrassing state of affairs to be so unprofessional in a lecture in college. Colleges are just woke flipping places in Ireland. Abroad they're good. Colleges are good. Like if you go to some good colleges, but most of the low-level ones, like I obviously went to a low-level college. I didn't go to Trinity. I'm not a rich posh boy, all right? But like if you go to those colleges, there'd be more middle ground, I would imagine.
In recent years, the radical left has waged an all-out campaign to erase the very concept of biological sex and replace it with a militant transgender ideology.
Yeah.
Well, we have a situation where we haven't had elections in Ukraine, where we have martial law, or essentially martial law in Ukraine. You've allowed yourself to be in a very bad position, and he happens to be right about it.
From the very beginning of the war.
You're not in a good position. You don't have the cards right now. With us, you start having
not playing cards.
Right now, you don't.
We're a
You're playing
serious
cards.
mission.
The mistake was letting the war happen. If Biden were competent, and if Zelensky were competent, and I don't know that he is. We had a rough session with this guy over here. He just kept asking for more and more. And we're here tonight in the heartland of our nation to celebrate the most successful first 100 days of any administration
Hey, let's go.
in the history.
This guy built the wall. Look at this guy. This guy's like my spirit animal or something, you know. That's gas.
Our country, and that's
But switch the hat to green and put Ireland instead of America, right? That's class.
to many, many people.
So many people praising Trump's first 100 days.
Yes, we are, Pat Kenny. And nobody has ever praised you ever in your life because you are bought and paid for. The people respect authenticity. And, you know, I'm not saying I'm great or anything, but I talk to a lot of people. You know, they say they like some of the videos and stuff like that. So, you know, even at a low level that I am at, you know, I see the love, you know, for the people, the actual people, the working class, the middle class, even the upper class in Ireland, you know, message me. This guy, Pat Kenny, is so disingenuous, so uninforming to the people, so, you know, so pushing propaganda and brainwashing that he'll never get love in his life. And I believe that karma is real, guys. You know, I truly believe in karma. When you put negative stuff out there, you're lying to the people, you're lying about people. Oh yeah, it's coming for you. It's coming for you.
Of some of the utterances and events of those past 100 days of Trump 2.0, from a migration crackdown to cozying up to Russia to tariffs.
He's not cozying up to Russia. He's trying to be diplomatic. Listen to the words that this asshole uses, guys.
Stock market. The Trump administration has packed a lot into that first 100 days. And if all of this happened in just 100 days, what's in store for the coming 1,361 days? Well, joining me to discuss, Scott Lucas, professor and political analyst at the Clinton Institute at UCD, Gina London, former CNN White House correspondent and Sunday Independent columnist, and TJ Malloy of Democrats Abroad.
Jesus, did you hear that list, guys? We have Democrats Abroad, we have flipping CNN, Clinton Institution. Oh my god, like they got the whole left wing. They got the communist flipping Marxist in here, guys. Here we go. Let's see what they have to say. Of course, there's going to be some left wing spin. That's literally, they got the whole conglomerate of the flipping left, the flipping woke people here. Jesus, they couldn't be a two-sided thing. No, they couldn't have had someone on from Fox News. You know, why is it CNN News? Jesus, lads, this is crazy.
Domestic achievements, if that's the right word, of this Trump 2.0, and then we'll talk about international affairs. But Scott, first of all, your reflections on that 100 days.
Trump supporters will be out this morning. I think you had one, Albert Eisenberg last hour, and they'll say, oh, he's a man of action, and the voters wanted this.
Big time.
So let's hit this on the head. What you have after almost 100 days in Trump 2.0 is an administration that's not only aspiring to be an authoritarian regime.
What?
It is an authoritarian regime.
Oh.
So by action, what we mean is destruction.
Oh, come on. Wait. I just shout this guy down. Like, NEWTALK would never have me or someone on this show. They actually follow me on flipping X on Twitter. Like, I'd love, just message me, have me on the show. It will be your number one show of all time. Because it will be the first and last show you ever have. Like, this is just ridiculous. How is it authoritarian? In no way is that true, guys. Like, seriously, these guys are spreading sort of like, I mean, talking about spreading misinformation. They're just spreading hate. Like, what the hell is he talking about? Come on. Shit.
We need destruction first of U.S. agencies so that they cannot be independent. They cannot do anything that Trump does not like. And I can give you a whole list of agencies and programs that have been axed, but only yesterday, for example, the National Climate Assessment, which is done every 4 years in the U.S. to map climate change. Every single researcher who was on the National Climate Assessment in 2023 was fired yesterday.
Yeah, so the reason for this, guys, and it's good, he's cleaning house, as we like to call it, okay? The reason he's doing that is because America losing money, okay? They want to be the number one country in the world. You know, I watch a lot of podcasts in Ireland, and they're saying, you know, America's finished and stuff. well, they still have the biggest military. You know, as long as you're the biggest, you know, as long as you have the biggest bollocks in the land, you know, the biggest military, you're kind of good to go. You know, they say that China owes them debt. Well, the American can just say, well, we're not paying back that debt. How about that? What are you going to do? We'd kill all of you in a war. So, you know, there is two ways to that. But second of all, they're losing money, guys. They want to bring as much money back home to the people. They're making billions a day now. They're making billions upon billions a day just from tariffing countries. And they're only tariffing 50% of what we're tariffing them. So it's a whole thing, man.
Climate change. Therefore, there is nothing to monitor by his lights.
Absolutely right. And in fact, American scientists have been blocked from doing any type of climate research, including in collaboration with others. But that's just one example of the agencies and what they're told they can and cannot do. The Pentagon axed the Women's Security and Peace Program yesterday, which is meant to encourage women to go into the armed forces and to protect them when they are there.
I think it's actually pretty sick that you'd encourage women to join the police and the armed forces. You know, maybe 1% is okay, you know, if you're joining these forces. But even, you know, a masculine man like myself, I always want to join the guards. I always want to join the army. I always wanted to become, you know, all the cool shit, you know, flying airplanes, all that cool shit, Top Gun. But in reality, guys, when you get past a certain age, you're like, oh, I probably wasn't suited for me per se. I'd still love to do that cool, you know, fighting, MMA, you know, army. But a lot of times women, and no offense to women watching this, we love you, all the women watching these videos. And honestly, the women are more based in Ireland than the men. Most men in Ireland are just cucked. I don't know what happened to men in Ireland, but the women are more based. They're more they're more like tougher mentally, you know, which is everything. And you know, they shouldn't be in the military though. You know, plain and simple, guys. Like, I don't want a woman that's a Navy SEAL, or like, I don't want a woman that's an Army Ranger Special Forces guy in Ireland. Like, I don't want that, guys. You know what I mean? Like, no offense. Like, I want some savage dude, some crazy guy that's going to be able to, like, you know, go and destroy the enemy type of thing, right? You don't want a woman, you know, dealing in intense fighting, guys. That's not really, there's different roles, you know what I mean? And also, I don't really want a guy doing some of the women roles. You know, I actually don't want guys doing a lot of women roles, taking care of kids and stuff. You know, it's better to have women a little bit to a certain age. So, you know, there's different roles, guys, that people play. And, you know, and each of those roles are very, you know, they're very highly represented. They're very sought after. They're very, you know, they're very good roles, okay? They're great roles. There's no, like, one better than the other, okay? If you guys think that a special forces guy is better than someone that works in the creche, or someone that works, you know, minding kids and raising the youth, you're an idiot. They're about the same level, in my personal opinion, okay? Because you need both to run a proper society, okay?
The agencies get destroyed, records get stolen, people get fired, thousands fired, more forced to resign. Then what do? You go after the courts. You insult the courts, you assail them on social media, and you defy them, including the Supreme Court. Then you go after the media to make it bend the knee to you. You go after the universities. You go after NGOs.
We got you. You can't do anything about it. We are, bro, there will never be another NGO funded government. You lost and you hate it. These guys hate it, guys. The left wing, dude, you are never going to have an NGO party, an NGO, you know, massive pushing of NGOs in Ireland anymore. You lost. If you're an NGO watching this, you suck. You lost. You will never have your funding back. You will never have your funding back. Let's all celebrate in the comment section down below, okay? The NGOs can all rot in hell. There was like 36,000 of them. You know, I was actually talking to this 40-year-old lady, and she was like, I was like, what do you do for work? And she was doing some whatever. I don't even know what she was saying. This is like a few months ago in a liberal city in Ireland, I'll just say. And she goes, oh, I want to start up an NGO. And I was like, let me just stop you right there. No, you don't. But then the NGO was to do with something like drug abuse or something, which is good. You know, you'd like that. But as soon as someone says NGO, you know, it should just trigger. I'm triggered. It should just trigger the mind. You know, if a conservative man or a man that's more right-leaning, okay, just about right-leaning, right?
That is simply not towing the line cannot be tolerated. I'm just going to be blunt. I'm speaking now as a person who was born and raised in the United States as well as an analyst. For me, it is the most serious domestic crisis since the end of the Civil War in 1865.
Oh,
Gina,
give it a break. Give it a flippin'. Give over, will ya? Jesus, lads. Your man's talking bollocks, like.
You obviously saw the White House in action up close and personal. How does Trump's White House differ from the White House of your experience?
In every single category. I mean, as I was listening to the other two commentators, it's just feeling more and more deflated as you're listening to the drumbeat. I mean, it's been a whirlwind over the last 100 days. And to echo what they say, we've got Doge firing hundreds of thousands of people and this random sweep. And they, they'd initially bragged that they were going to save $2 trillion, but they've apparently only saved like $1.6 billion, and they've cost about...
No. They're making billions a day. Billions are pouring into the American government now because of all these Doge, efficiency schemes, and we need that in Ireland. And don't be fooled as well. There's going to be 3 Americans on this show talking shit about Trump. Americans are based. Just remember, like, more than 70 million, 70 or 80 million Americans voted for Trump. America is a legendary country full of based patriots, guys. Don't listen to these few little people on the show that they have on and just say, oh, Americans are this. Not at all, guys. Guns, freedom, to a point, obviously, they have the most laws and they have really harsh laws as well. So the freedoms aren't, probably as what you'd expect there, I would imagine. But completely based country, guys. They finally elected a good government. This is just, this is great, guys. The liberal tears will flow to the streets of Galway and Dublin in the next, hopefully, 4 years, okay?
$4 billion and counting while they're continuing to do this. And I think the only thing that is giving me a little bit of buoyancy as we're marking 100 days are the poll numbers across every category. He's underwater, maybe a small bit above water when it comes to the border, but his marks on immigration are even underwater, and that was supposed to be his thing. His marks on tariff and inflation are terrible, and Trump is so unpopular that he's even managed to break his own record of unpopularity during his first term at 100 days. But it has been a relentless shite show, and the lack of humanity and the lack of due process. And just last week, Mahmoud Khalil, the legally allowed to be student at Columbia who was detained down in Louisiana and is married to a U.S. citizen, his wife delivered their first child, and Trump's administration refused to allow him to release him from detention in Louisiana to be there for the birth, and he's still not been formally charged with the crime.
Well, I mean, the U.S. has massive issues with violence. We don't have that kind of violence in the EU, really. America is savagely violent, killing people, trafficking, drug charges. Like, they have crazy violence. So this guy, I don't know what this Mahmoud guy, but they're trying to basically, do like an analysis of who's in the country now, and then they're going to kind of clean out what's the bullshit that's happening, all the MS-13 gangs, and then they'll eventually get around to, letting people be themselves again. We're going to leave it right there, guys. Hope you enjoyed that. Yeah, I mean, the mainstream media is coming out hard against Trump, guys. They just cry about Trump every day. It's sad to see, guys, honestly. It's really sad to see. But if you're in the U.S. watching this, thank you for voting in the spirit that embodies Trump, because obviously I don't agree with everything Trump says, but the spirit that he embodies, giving the people at least a shred of hope that the woke bullshit will be kicked out of society is great to see. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the join link underneath the video if you guys want to help keep me pushing back against the mainstream media, and I'll see you in the next one, guys. Peace.